Sweet.
All right, it's cool. Here we go. Hold on.
Get it out.
Swallowing.
Get the COVID out.
Yes.
Or is it the typhus from the raccoons?
It's hard to tell at this point.
Or rats, yeah.
Bat,
There's
raccoon,
typhus
pig.
in that neighborhood, okay? I'll post a link on that.
No, it's the plague from the chipmunks they found in Tahoe. Did you hear about that
just-
shit?
No.
Yeah, they found like multiple chipmunks have been like dozens have been found with plague.
Oh, speaking
Guys.
of chipmunks, to those on Facebook, if you put in,
Don't do it. No, don't.
if you put in the gift bar, relax and take notes, it's a nice surprise. All right, let's start. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the.
Let's try this again.
Open. No.
Hey,
open.
everybody.
This is gold.
Welcome back to Fake Philosophers. I'm Mike. With me today is Danny. Eddie joins us through the net. Mitch is in Mexico building a hospital for poor kids. He won't be here. Today
I'm sure that's what he's doing. Love you, Mitch.
Today we're going to talk about a somewhat recent event, probably a couple weeks ago by the time this airs. We're going to talk about Simone Biles.
Yeah.
The whole situation regarding Simone Biles. Daniel, how about you explain the situation for us?
Okay, so
To those who don't know.
for those of you who aren't privy,
I don't know. I read headlines when it comes to the Olympics. I
Yeah.
watched some judo today. So this is all new to me.
well, it has nothing to do with judo. So pretty much what happened was, and this is very involved, pretty much when Simone Biles got to the Olympics, she was, I don't know if she was told, but what happened was the International Olympics Committee, the IOC, said you're going to be judged differently. And that was the kind of like the first step in this whole kind of controversy, is that the International Olympics Committee said you're going to be judged differently because you are of such a better caliber of gymnast. Whether or not you believe that's fair, I for one don't think it is.
That they're going to grade her pretty much on a curve.
But they're going to grade her on a curve.
Yeah, Eddie, your response right now is exactly right.
Exactly right.
Pretty much because she was. It'd be like if the Los Angeles Lakers, because that's my team.
Yeah.
If the Los Angeles Lakers were such a good basketball team that every field goal they made counted as 1 point instead of 2. Pretty much kind of the same thing.
Well, hold up. We sent our professional players, the dream team.
Yeah.
Was it the 80s or the 90s? Larry Bird, Michael Jordan.
Yeah, it was the
And
90s.
we destroyed everybody.
Yeah.
Were they graded on a curve? Even if they were, they would have destroyed everybody in it.
That's part of the controversy.
That's part of the controversy. Yeah.
Is that they straight up were like, we're going to judge you on a different scale because you are such, what Danny just said, I'm repeating.
Such a
good
high-caliber
high caliber athlete that no one can otherwise compete with you.
Yeah. So when you look at Simone Biles' decision, you have to take that into account, among with a lot of other things. One, her family wasn't allowed to attend because of COVID restrictions. Her family has not missed a gymnastics competition since she started doing gymnastics. So that's another thing you have to take into account. And so what happened was, when they were doing the team all-around event for gymnastics, Simone Biles said, I am dropping out because I'm not in the right mental space. And because of that, because this was totally unheard of, there was a lot of backlash, a lot of online comment.
To a degree, and we won't go into the politics of it, but some politicization.
Yeah,
the
some
term.
politicizing, whatever you want.
Politicizing.
Of this event. But at the end of the day, this is about an athlete not being in the right mental or physical space to compete where they need to be able to compete. And because of this, it has drawn a lot of backlash, a lot of criticism. And so what I wanted to talk about today was not only Simone Biles' decision, but that decision in terms of the bigger picture. If an athlete feels that they are not at the place where they need to be in order to perform or compete, should they then still compete, or should they do what Simone Biles is and withdraw themselves from that competition?
It's up to the athlete. I mean, it's your ass on the line. So
Yeah.
there's one school of thought that says, well, you've come all this way, you've competed, go through with it. But then again, if your game is not there, then your mental health is more important, and that's courage. I don't. Yeah. Then again, there's people who like have been failing. Like, wasn't there somebody like did a pole vault or something, or a gymnast who fell like 3 times but refused to quit or something like that? Did he just say, "Hold up, judges"? Not that one. Or it's just like, I don't care if I'm being judged. I lost. I'm going to do it again because I'm here.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And I'm sure. Yeah, there has been instances of that. The big kind of comparison they've made was Carrie Strung back in 1996, and she was doing a vault, a gymnast vault, which is where they run up to the horse, vault off of the horse, and
do their flips.
thing.
Yeah.
On her, I think it was like they did 3 rounds of it. On her first round, she did okay. The second round, she landed but fucked up her leg, like probably broke her leg. And her coaches at the time were like, "Do you want to do it again?" And she was like, I don't know. I don't think I should. And then like, "Do you want to do it again?" They were pretty much, they didn't tell her to do it again, but they were pretty much just telling her to do it again.
Coercing her.
Yeah.
Coercing.
Yeah. And so she's like, no, you know what? I'm going to do it again. And like, she did it again. She stuck her landing, but she obliterated her leg, like shattered it. It was done. She couldn't compete again afterwards. And she hasn't since because of this. Did win him the gold? Yes. Did she have to do it to win the gold? Probably not. But the bigger question is like, what are we doing to these athletes to ensure that we win gold in these events? And I think Simone Biles looked at that and said, you know what, it's not worth ruining my career to win a medal at the Tokyo Olympics in 2021.
Yeah, and that's one thing too. Like, so at first, like, I'm not gonna lie, I think a lot of people had the first gut, the gut opinion of like,
oh, that sucks.
like, oh, you quit. And I think
Yeah.
people have compared. They're like, oh, well, what if the Lakers bring them up again? Like, if they were in the finals and LeBron James quit at Game 3 or Game 4, he just walked off the court because of mental health. And again, of course, as a Lakers fan, I'd be irritated by that. But at the end of the day, one, these are just sports. They're just sports. There's nothing, like, there's not really consequences to winning or losing. This is just sports for national pride.
To the people not betting on them, yeah, there's nothing.
But that's what I mean. Like, there's no substantial, like, serious consequence for losing or winning. So that's number one. And that's across sports in general. Like, if somebody decides to play or not. That's number one. Number two, I read an article about someone who defended Simone Biles. And what they said was, and like you just talked about the woman in 96, when these, specifically gymnasts, if you watch their floor routine, the springboard you were talking about,
the vaults.
if you look at like the precision needed and how fast they are going, if you are off by a millisecond or your instinct is off by just a little bit, that could be, like you just said, your career.
Not only career, it could potentially be your life.
Yeah, and so from what I read is that she said, I'm not a gymnast, obviously, but a term she, I guess, used was called like the twisties, which is something about like, I had the twisties. And a previous gymnast wrote an op-ed somewhere defending that, saying, I know what the twisties is. That's when, like, because when you hit the springboard, you have to do exact movements to land exactly right. And the twisties is kind of like when you, to my personal, what I drew from it was like when you go underwater at the beach and you forget which way's up.
Yeah.
That you lose yourself. And imagine being a gymnast hitting that springboard and feeling that in the air. Like, that's scary, and it throws you off your game. So if that's what I heard Simone Biles said, was that she had a case of the twisties. So with that mindset, especially what you said, that she's already being judged differently, her family's not there, and she experienced the twisties, you think she's going to want to go back to that board or to the floor routine?
No.
Like, you're now putting yourself in possible physical harm's way. So that's one other thing. And three, like, this is not completely without precedent. Like, nobody really criticized Dave Chappelle. I know this is a crazy comparison, but think about it. When
No,
Dave
you're
Chappelle,
right. You're absolutely right.
Dave Chappelle was at the peak of his career, and he left the Chappelle show, and he lost $50 million. So that's actually something with consequence. $50 million that he walked away from. And if you watch the interviews, I know he did an interview with Oprah years later, and he straight up said it, that in so many words, his own words, his mental state was not good. I think he said something like don't quote me because I might be remembering incorrectly, that like I think he said like someone he knew, I think it might have been his father or something, was like sick at home, but he was like, I have to do the show. Like there was a lot going on, and there was a sketch where he thought to himself, you know, he's been very, I guess you would say, controversial in his comedy. That's why everyone loves him. But he said, he's like, is this actually funny, or am I actually like kind of pushing racism? And that's what made him make the decision to leave the show, is like his mental capacity. He said he was working more than 20 hours a day, like barely seeing his kids, all this shit. So he left. And under like Simone Biles, he actually had a tangible consequence, $50 million and his career. Like Simone Biles will still have a career. And I don't know the financial aspect of the Olympics. If
I mean, the Olympics, you don't win money from the Olympics. So pretty much, I think
it's everything to get there in the first place, though.
Yeah,
that's still a big deal. You're at the freaking Olympics, and you're just saying, "I'm good." That's huge.
Now, I think for the Americans at least, I think if you gold medal in something, you get a certain amount of
bonus or something.
A bonus,
fine, but you don't lose anything.
But you don't lose anything. Yeah.
So I'll be honest, I get the criticism, because I know we talked to a friend of ours, and what he said was like, what about those people who fought just as hard and didn't make it? Like, how does that make them feel? And one, tough shit, first of all. Like, I had to say like an asshole, but like, two, she was the best, and for her own health, she decided to walk away. And didn't they, I think they had like...
they have alternates.
They have an alternate.
Every team that competes, every person that competes in the Olympics, they have an alternate.
Yeah. So I just think, I will say, like I said, if LeBron James walked out at Game 3 in the finals, I would be irritated. But if it was a legitimate case of, I felt like I had depression, I have shit going on, I feel like I'm going to get hurt, whatever it is, at the end of the day, it's just a game. And so for these people to get so mad, I'm just like, you're kind of being an asshole.
Yeah.
And not to mention, because this is, even in basketball, you can get hurt. I can't imagine going as fast as those girls do, spinning as fast as they do, and if you're off by an inch,
high as they jump, as many flips as they do in those jumps, you're at the very least a spinal injury.
Yeah,
and that's career ending.
Yeah, and so when people are like, "Oh, she just couldn't handle it. She's a little bitch, little baby," I'm like, "Fuck you, bro."
Yeah,
like, what have you done?
Yeah, get up there. You get up there and do it. And it's that meme that's been going around. It's like, I think the Olympics should like, there should be no like serious competitors. Everybody should be drawn out of a hat from the nation that's competing, and
get the
whether or not you're an expert at it or not, you're selected for like tumbling.
Just so we see a reference point. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's like you first of all, you couldn't survive living on the schedule that this person lives on.
Yes.
Where it is gymnastics for 20 hours a day, and then the other 4 hours are fucking meals, and that's it.
And not to mention,
you're committed.
Simone Biles she's done 1 or 2 Olympics now, or
this
maybe.
I believe is her third.
Okay, so she's at least in her 20s now.
Yeah.
Some of these girls are like 16, 17, like fuck.
When in '96, the majority of the team was 14 through like 17.
Yeah. Like these, like you can't handle that kind of stress as a kid. Like maybe you can at the time at great expense later in your life.
Yeah.
But it just, the lack of empathy that's come out, like, and don't, I guess I'm not gonna be a hypocrite. Yeah, the first instinct when I heard Simone Biles quit was, come on, really? That was my first instinct. I'm not gonna lie about it. But then examining why, the context, that's when I'm like, okay, I get it. You know what I mean?
It's you gotta keep in mind.
It's easy to be a critic. They're performing at the highest levels that we're not even coming close to. So it's easy to be a critic, especially right now when everybody has an opinion, and that opinion's worth gold because of social media.
It's like,
I just want to interject in that I am boycotting Chappelle's show because I support Dave Chappelle, and I don't know if you've seen the video. I'm going to post it in our chat, but he says, please, for me, go ahead and boycott Chappelle. Hashtag that.
Oh no, you're talking about the Netflix thing, right?
Exactly.
No, that's been resolved though.
Yeah, that has been resolved.
It has?
It has been resolved.
Okay,
yeah.
so
Paid a shit ton of money to Dave Chappelle.
No, you're fine. Yeah, no, Netflix gave Chappelle his money, so that's been resolved.
That's resolved. So you can go ahead and watch Chappelle's show now on Netflix.
Yeah, what was it? Didn't he have an issue? Was it comedy or HBO?
Whoever it was with, I know what you're talking about. That's been resolved.
Yeah,
he has talked about that.
Resolved. Yeah. Okay, I am very glad I'm late to the party.
No, you're fine. Your heart's in the right place. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad I can express that it resolved in his favor.
Yeah.
So,
but again, that's another thing though. Going back to Chappelle, Like when that happened, and I know the landscape is different now, the climate, but like no one really gave him shit for that.
I mean,
I think people didn't understand it right away. They're just like, oh, he walked away, but nobody was like,
that's weird. And then once they, heard him talk.
But no one was outraged over it. They're just like, huh? What? Why would he do that?
Yeah.
But then he came out and people took his side. I don't understand why. And that's entertainment. Like it's still entertainment.
And I will say,
it's sport.
Dave Chappelle is one of the comedians. I'm not even saying comedian. One of the personalities that is in the mainstream that has looked at what he's done in the past and been like, yeah, maybe what I said back then was kind of fucked up. Here's how I feel about it now.
Well, I honestly consider Dave Chappelle kind of going to the history of the world from Mel Brooks, the stand-up philosopher.
Yeah,
I consider Chappelle a philosopher.
Yeah, he definitely is because I mean, does he make fun of stuff as a satirist? Yes, he does. But he also has a message that he wants to put out there.
Points,
and he makes points in his comedy, and you can see when he does it in his comedy because there will be laughs, and then he'll sit down, have a cigarette.
And it's quiet.
And he's making points. And I remember I went over to your place for New Year's Eve once, and we watched one of those specials, and we were just fucking captivated.
Oh yeah, he's amazing.
Just blown away.
But to bring it back, so we're getting off topic. We always get off topic.
Because
I remember I thought about that, and I was like, wow, like Dave Chappelle actually left a show with tangible consequences. And no one gave him shit. There was no outrage. Confusion at first, but no outrage, no shit. Simone Biles leaves a sport, not even the sport, just this particular competition, because she's worried about her mental health and her physical health, and people give her shit for it. And granted, we agreed we wouldn't go into the politics of it, and there's definitely politics involved.
Yeah.
Because there's obviously, if you look,
you're representing America.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at the lines too, you can see a clear line of where people sit politically and where they stand on the issue. There's some gray area there, but still, it's one of those things like, okay, weird comparison. Closing the bar. Sometimes I'll play weird music because I know it pisses people off and they'll leave faster. That said, the way people get so angry about music on a jukebox, I've just always been like, you're going to let that bother you. It's music on a jukebox. So this thing, it has you, Eddie, me. Simone Biles leaving the Olympics has no consequence to any of us. No consequence to anyone in the country except for Simone Biles.
Yeah.
Why are you getting so mad about it? Like,
because they don't have a life. It's something that diverges from their own life. It's like everything else. That's the emotional attachment to TV characters and what have you. It's not you on the balance beam. It's not you that practices every day, but you can have an opinion.
No,
you got social media.
It's pride, it's ego, it's vanity, whatever you want to call it. And it's these cosplay triots that are just like, nah, she's representing America, she's representing me, and I would never do that.
It's like, bro, you're eating chicken wings.
You're eating chicken wings and eating Cheetos and drinking a Coors Light watching this event.
It's like the joke I remember, and I've been guilty of this. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. Where I'm sitting there eating chicken wings on my couch. My fingers are greasy as fuck. I'm watching American Ninja Warrior. Guy falls. I'm like, loser. I don't get. I get certain outrage. Not this. Certain outrage I get where people are like, whoa, if someone's being mistreated, if there's...
After 9/11, I was pissed off.
Sure. When you hear about people like the Blizzard thing going on right now.
Yeah.
Where you find out that their company was super harassing and abusing their employees. I get outraged about that. That's awful. People are getting hurt. But a chick just walking away from a sport because she feels like she's not in the right mind space. Why are you so mad about
priorities?
That?
It's all priorities.
And the thing is, I'm not saying that I agree with it, but I can understand even criticism, just criticism, constructive criticism. But the outrage is where I'm like,
I think a lot of it would also come down to race. It's like, why are you really mad?
I think that's possibility too.
And I mean, we want to do a light topic, but I'm gonna add some weight to it here. I think a lot of it does come down to it's like, why are you really mad? Are you mad that a gymnast withdrew from a competition, or are you mad that this African American withdrew from this competition?
Yeah, and I think fuck it, we were gonna keep it light, but yeah, let's go down.
Well, I think it's just I think it is really light in that people don't have a life, and it's easy to have an opinion on something that doesn't affect you. That's not going to change the price of milk.
Well,
that is not, your rent is still going to be due in September and what have you. So you're not worried about that. But you can be worried about this gymnast.
You're right. This focus I could put on. But what I was going to say is and I hate, because I know we were talking about off the air, the Poli-Tickle is kind of Mitch's thing, but kind of here, like, I think a lot of people are like, because it's the woke thing now. So now if anyone's woke, they're bad. Where you have, we weren't going to talk about it, but we'll talk about it. Where you have the women's soccer team who are American players who, whether or not you agree with kneeling for the flag or not, I don't care about that. Whether or not you agree with that, these are still American players representing the United States. And you have Americans cheering that they're losing. Mm-hmm. Like, granted, like I said, the flag or the kneeling for the flag debate aside, we could talk about that another time. There's people cheering for the women's team losing. And that's where I think, coming back to Simone Biles, I think she, for whatever reason, is kind of linked to woke Olympics, as they're calling it. Mm-hmm. So when she steps out, they're just like, this bitch. Mm-hmm. How dare she? Of course she. And I don't know, it's just weird that the Olympics have become, just in America, so politicized in that sense. Because, look, I don't, if football, perfect example, LeBron James, this is way different. I have been a critic of LeBron James for years. When he joined the Lakers, I'm still a critic of him. I still get irritated by things he does. But I'm still going to root for the Lakers to win. I want the Lakers to win. I'm a critic of him. I haven't agreed with a lot of the things he's done, but he's playing for the Lakers. I'm rooting for the Lakers. You could disagree with these players and what they've done politically or what they're trying to do with social issues, but you could still root for the team. That's America's team. Yeah. And I think, the soccer thing aside, I think it does relate to Simone Biles through sick, twisted means, because I do think, because everyone's on this irrational, sensationalized woke Olympics thing, that they see her bowing out due to mental health and they just link it to that and they're like, fuck this chick. Yeah. When in reality, she's just taking care of herself. Yeah. What's it matter to you? How's it hurt you? How's it offend you?
It doesn't. Again, it all has to do with ego and pride and vanity and all this. It's like, oh, she represents America. She represents me. That pisses me off. So, fuck you.
I just don't get it.
And it's like, you.
It's easy to get. It's easy to get when you think of a lowest common denominator.
Yeah, I mean,
you hear conversations like that all the time in the bar. Yeah, you understand it completely.
I guess it's. I understand. You're right that I see it. I understand it on the surface point of view, where you see people and you can link the reasons why. But I just don't, I honestly don't understand or empathize maybe with why people get so mad about this. And like I said, you could look at my Facebook for proof. I've been a critic of LeBron for years. When he was on the Heat, I was roasting him left and right. When he went back to the Cavs, roasting him left to right. Came to the Lakers, emotionally confused. But I would never root against the Lakers because of that. Even to flip it, I know a guy who was a huge LeBron fan who hated the Lakers. When LeBron went to the Lakers, even he was like, huh. But he's a fan of LeBron, and he still roots for LeBron. Yeah. And so I just don't I don't understand this weird mindset we're in now that we have Americans who claim to be patriots actively rooting against the American team. Yeah. I will never understand that.
Well, understand that maybe you have, because it's politicized, then maybe they're rooting against the woke movement, and that's one element.
I think that's a medium of it. I think you're right in that. I just, for instance, I would say right now, fuck LeBron James, go Lakers. Mm-hmm. You could say who's the is it Rapinoe?
Yeah, Rapinoe.
Rapinoe. Yes. You could easily say, and I would respect it, maybe not agree with you, but you could easily say hey, fuck Rapinoe. I hope she wins. Fuck her.
You can say that. It's
fuck her. More than one person.
Yeah,
too.
It's a team. It is
a team that's representing.
You can say fuck one person, go America. That's the thing. The two aren't mutually exclusive. Yeah, it's you can, or excuse me, the two are mutually exclusive.
Yes,
you can root for a team but not a player. I mean, I would root for Derek Jeter. I fucking hate the Yankees, but I love Derek Jeter. Same thing in Boston. I liked Johnny Damon when he was still in Boston. And when he went to the Yankees, I fucking hated it. But I loved Johnny Damon. Didn't necessarily like the Red Sox. But you can
separate it.
You can separate it.
In this case, you could have your cake and eat it too. In this case.
You can. a lot of people aren't doing that though. It's like it's an all or nothing kind of black or white kind of thing. It's like there are shades of gray in these things.
Well, the problem, even fuck it. Let's dive into it. Sports aside, people have been getting off on this whole false dichotomy issue anyway. Mm-hmm. For instance, sorry, Mitch, drop the Poli-Tickle thing. We're going in. Mitch likes being here for the political shit, by the way. But we're going.
He's too busy in Mexico building houses.
He's too busy in Mexico. He shouldn't have gone to Mexico.
Yep.
He could have like dialed in, you know.
Yeah.
Nah, fuck him. So, for instance, and this is way off topic now, but we're on it. So Black Lives Matter and cops. Mm-hmm. For instance, I got into a conversation with someone a while back, and they said, "Are you pro or con? Do you support or oppose Black Lives Matter?" And I said, I'm cool with Black Lives Matter. I don't have a problem with them. And he's like, so you support riots, looting, etc.? And I was like, no, I don't support any of that shit. Those people belong in jail. Anyone who goes out to these crazy riots, like burning buildings up, jail them. But I'm cool with Black Lives Matter. And they're like, so you're anti-cop? No, I love cops. But it's a false dichotomy set up that you're either pro BLM or you're pro cop. It's like, I like cops. I don't like bad cops. And they're like, not all cops. Cool, not all cops. The bad ones I want out. Well, what about BLM? The good ones are fine. I have no problem with them. These assholes in the street burning shit, fuck them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was amazing seeing and I'm not trying to say like, oh, I'm so smart.
There was a cognitive dissonance that was going on.
But it was a thing. Like they didn't understand. Yeah. Like how can you be pro cop and pro BLM?
Yeah, it's the thing that shuts down the robots in Westworld.
Yeah, but it's these. It's so many false dichotomy that. Maybe that'll be the false dichotomy. You know what that means, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Two choices. It's like, even to this day, people are like, did you like Trump? And I'm like, fuck no. Oh, so you must be pro-Biden. No. I thought Biden was the horrible pick. I thought the Democrats had better picks. And they're like, and it's like, well, I don't get it. Like, what? And it's just the false narrative that you only have two choices and there's no context or gray area is just. And it's getting worse every day, and it's horrible.
Yeah, it's like we can't pull ourselves out of this fucking whirlpool that's dragging us deeper down into it.
Yeah.
And we really need to. We really need to realize that there's more than just two options to any question.
And it goes back to the Olympic thing because we all said, you could dislike Rapinoe, her politics, her progressive stance, her hair, whatever.
It's not about her.
Yeah,
it's about the team.
You can still enjoy the team and root for the team. Absolutely.
At the end of the day, we're all American.
Yeah. At least at the Olympics.
At least at the Olympics, we're all American.
And so no, it's just I think, and that goes back to Simone Biles too, because like we weren't going to talk about it earlier, but like Simone Biles, it became politicized that now she's a liberal woke.
Yeah.
Snowflake chick because she wanted to take care of herself.
And it's like, here's the thing. Nobody fucking knows her politics.
Yeah.
Nobody has any clue about what way she leans, whether it's liberal or conservative. And they're just making it out like she's a liberal because, she's taking a mental health day.
So she must be a snowflake.
She must be a snowflake. And it's like, fuck you. Have you ever competed at this level?
Or no. Have you ever taken a day off?
Yeah. Have you ever taken a day off from doing anything? Like, sometimes you just need a fucking day off.
Okay, let's go to these people because let's be like the hardcore crazy conservative people, not like the normal conservatives, but like crazy conservatives who are pissed off about this. You've never just gotten home after work, your wife comes up to you and says, "Hey, honey, how's your day?" And you just said, "Just give me 10 minutes." I'm not trying to be disparaging towards a wife.
Let me have a cigarette. Let me have a cigar. Let me have a drink. Whatever.
That's a mental health check.
That is a check. Yeah.
That's a mental health check. There's been times. My lady, where I've gotten home after a long day. She's done it to me, where I've just gotten home after a long day, and I think I've mentioned it before. Like I got it kind of into gardening, growing peppers and shit. And she'll be like, "Hey, how's it going?" I'm like, "Just give me a few minutes. I'm just gonna go out to the garden. I'm gonna water the plants. I'm gonna drink a beer. I'll come back inside."
Yeah,
it's not me being rude. It's just like I just need a few minutes.
It's called decompression.
Yeah, of course.
We're taking the stress of the day and we're decompressing it because the whole day we've been compressing it.
Yes,
and we need to let it out somehow. And I'd rather it be in the garden than on you.
Yes. Yeah. And then there's been times where I've gotten home before and she gets home and I'm just like, "Hey," and she's like, "Hey, just," and she's like, "Just give me," and she'll go and do something. I don't know. And it's not, but so when we talk about that, people are like, "Oh yeah, that's fine. You're decompressing." And it's like, that is mental health. Taking your time to decompress is taking care of your mental health. Yeah. Why, when an Olympic athlete does it, sure, it's amplified, obviously, because she's an Olympic athlete, but that's what she's doing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing on a different scale. But because they're doing it this way, it's wrong.
Yeah.
When I do it, it's fine.
And I'll say right now, nobody at the Olympics looked at that and said, "That's the wrong move."
Well, hold on. What was the guy? It was a meme. So I can't fact check me if you will. Mm-hmm. There was a guy who I think it was a tennis player.
Yeah, it was Drobovic. I can't remember his name.
He wasn't an American though, right?
No.
But he criticized her, saying like, if you're an Olympic athlete, you should stick it out. You should tough it out. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, you can't take the pressure. Blah 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 blah.
And then he was the one who flipped out and fucking didn't he threw his racket and did all this shit. Anyway, I just like I said, it's the false dichotomies. Even the word snowflake. I was talking to someone, they're like, yeah, snowflake, when you're overly sensitive and you get too overworked about something, you're overly sensitive, etc. Same person got crazy pissed off because someone criticized Trump.
Yeah. And
so I was like, so are you now acting like a snowflake? Because you are very sensitive when someone criticizes Trump. And he's like, no, I'm not a snowflake. I'm just passionate. And I'm like, so when you are doing the same thing this person's doing, you're just passionate. When this person's doing it, they're a snowflake. Mm-hmm. And it's just, it does, and he was kind of like, no, it's different. It's like, no, like if you're passionate about something, doesn't mean you're a snowflake. And I wasn't even calling him a snowflake. I was just like, by your definition,
you're just using his definition.
You're doing what you're preaching. Yeah. And
it's taking the opposing view and demonizing it, putting it in a pejorative light. Mm-hmm. And somehow in that mind, it justifies what you're doing. And it's really interesting. I posted something in our group chat just about creativity and going into the brain, and it went into confirmational bias. And the guy who talked about it is a neuroscientist, and it's fascinating because once you have a belief that's established, you're not really intaking any more information because you already have a belief, and that's hardwired into you.
Well, and that's what leads to cognitive dissonance and this idea that you can't have two opposing ideas in your head, but as human beings, we constantly do, and it's that battle of which one wins in the long run. Mm-hmm. And you know, I've seen it happen with students of mine. I've seen it happen with let's say political opponents of mine, where I'll introduce an idea and they're like, "But wait," and you'll literally see like the short happen in their brain, and it's like just something to think about, man. It's like you can't hold, especially in like politics, you can't hold one person to one ideal and another person to another ideal. Like there's things that are universal.
Yes.
And that we have to hold each and every person in the political realm. Let's just talk about that. Each and every person in the political realm to a certain ideal. You can't pick and choose.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Me and my brother have gotten into, I won't say debates, but like disagreements about this.
Well, even so, and a great example of that specifically. So let's talk about in 2020 even though my opinion is they don't represent Black Lives Matter, but let's say the Black Lives Matter riots just so we have a term for it, the Black Lives Matters riots. A lot of people, when they talk about those, they compare it to the January 6th riot. And a lot of, I guess you say more Trumpists would say, hey, back then when they were doing that, you had Democrats saying, hey guys, not that they were saying that was okay, but they were saying the language was, they're saying get out there and fight for your rights, get out there and fight. And they're like, saying the word fight is inciting violence. And even at the time, I was like, they don't mean that literally. They mean that like go and fight, not fight people, but like go out there and get your voice heard. So when January 6th happened, and I'm not defending anything, a lot of Democrats started going after Trump, saying he said at that rally, go down the street and fight. And that means he wanted them to fight. And I remember someone bring that up, and I was like, I'm not a hypocrite. When he said that, I cannot say he meant literally fight. I just defended the Democrats last year over it. I cannot now change my mind on the word fight.
Yeah.
Granted, that whole incident aside, there's other things to get into.
Yeah.
But as far as the language is concerned, there was a flip there.
Yeah.
Where now Democrats are saying he said to go down and fight. And it's like, 9 months ago.
Politics.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying is that it is a weird.
Got a bunch of lawyers fighting with each other. They'll do that. There'll be semantics.
Exactly. Yep. And that's what we're talking about. It's just kind of like, like there's these false dichotomies, there's these hypocrisies, and it's getting really irritating.
It's like there's no standards anymore. It's like the standards have become a gray area where it's like you can choose to do it or not. And it's like that's not what this country was built on. There's a document. We know the document that outlines everything, and people are choosing either to ignore it or to change it.
I don't think they ignore it. I think they
People are just getting emotional. I mean, we're not getting logical about it. We're not going back. It's more important to be emotional on social media, because when you get into logic and everything, and what the law means and why things are structured the way they are, that's really boring. What's not boring is just somebody getting up and getting into a microphone and screaming and getting outraged.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate.
When you have that's what's really ruling the day.
Yeah, and you're right. It's more sexy that way. It is. In a sense, it's more sexy to watch that. People, it gets more clicks, it gets more views. Yeah.
And I wonder, because we talked about this the last time we got together and did a podcast, where we talked about taking politics back to what it was when it was first created in America.
Yes.
And you eliminate. Well, I've been saying this for like the last 10, 15 years. Get money out of politics.
Sure.
Because it does nothing but harm. And so anybody who wants to be in politics, you're not paid to be a politician. You have your job, you do what you do, and then when something needs to happen in this country, you're called to serve. And
yeah, I think the conversation we had, I do think like the judicial branch, they should have their jobs.
Yeah.
They're there as judges.
Sure. Yeah.
And they're appointed for life.
Yeah.
This is one of the challenges of our government, because you have to worry about running again. Judges don't need to do that. Nope. And if you're in China, you can just say, I'm premier for life now. Everybody will stand up.
Yeah.
That's one challenge, that the way things. This is a security for the democracy. It's also a challenge too.
Yeah,
because we don't have a dictator. We don't have somebody up at the top saying, "Okay, I need to worry about whether people like me." It's just, no, we're going to do this and get it done.
Yeah. Well, so what you were just saying kind of goes back to the point that Danny and I we had. There was a private discussion off camera. Pretty much the idea was, so there are some jobs in government that there needs to be somebody in the office every day. The judges, obviously. And then the executive branch, I think a president does need to be in the office there every day doing his thing. But as far as senators and congressmen in the House, that should be decentralized. They should not, like, I think I was telling you, kind of a funny idea I had was, I've been trying to get some indie films of mine with my creative partner produced for years. We never had the money. What if I ran a quiet campaign, one in my district for the House, and just was very quiet for 2 years, made, I think it'd probably be like $300K, and then get out, because I just needed the money. But if you decentivize it to where now, instead of the example we talked about was in the movie The Patriot, Mel Gibson. You remember
the what?
The Patriot, starring Mel Gibson.
I've only seen clips. No, I haven't seen it.
So I haven't seen that movie yet.
It's a great.
Yeah,
it's a great movie.
Spartacus either. Okay.
Fine, but one of the opening scenes in the movie is that it's the 1770s. And he gets a letter from Charlestown. So he lives out on a farm in the boondocks or whatever, and he gets a letter from Charlestown saying that they're convening the government body. I forgot. It's not the Senate.
It's not the Senate. It's pretty much the local
government, if you will, the local senators. And so he goes into town, and they hold their government body, and they debate about whether or not they're going to join the war against England. And that's the example I gave, was like, that's what we should go back to where. Again, the president, there should be someone in the executive branch there at all times. The judges, yes. But when it comes to the legislator, like, that shouldn't be your job.
No.
You should not get paid for it. You run for office. You have your job, and we treat it as we treat jury duty and the National Guard or Army Reserve, to where once a month or twice a month, once every couple months, however the terms are, you can't be fired from your job. You can't have consequences for it, but you go to Washington, you have the session for a week or whatever, you get shit done, and you go back to your job.
And while you're there, you're not paid, but you are.
That's what I was about to say.
You're compensated.
You're compensated. Your stay at the hotel, you do not pay for. Your food, you do not pay for. I think we joked. I was like, fine, you have a tab at the bar.
Like, you can even have a tab at the bar.
But you're not paid for it. It's a service. You are a civil servant. You're going to serve, and you're going back to your job. So one, there's your money incentive is out. Two, a lot of these people who get into it for fame, let's be honest. I mean, let's not get too political, but like the Matt Gaetzes who are out there just making noise to make noise because he wants to do something else. That's my opinion. Different topic. But so the glorified part of it, the romanticized part of it of being a leader is now decentivized because you're not getting paid. Like you're not, you have to go back to your job and face the people. So for me, bar owner, if I ran and I got it, I know I'm going back and I'm going to see common people every day. So now I'm more incentivized to actually serve them regardless of my politics.
Yeah.
Because like we're way off topic of Simone Biles now. But
no, I like where this is going. Let's keep going with it.
But I think in that setup, the presidency aside, at least in the House and the Senate, you now have people who are not going to play hyper-partisan games. And I know a lot of people are like, you're a liberal. No, fucking that includes the Democrats. Play hyper-partisan games all the time. It'll decentivize them from doing that because they actually have to go back. You're a teacher, Eddie, you're a software engineer. We have to go back now from our service in Washington to deal with common people. So we can't hide in our office. We can't hide behind our Secret Service or our staff. We have to face people. So we're actually going to be honest when we go to Washington to represent people because me, bar owner, these motherfuckers are coming to my bar. And chances are with the internet, if they disagree with me, they're going to find where I work. And some of these people are going to come talk to me.
Yep.
It keeps me honest. It keeps me from being crazy.
It's honestly,
some of them might not even talk.
Like I would think the founding fathers, if they looked at our political system today, they would be fucking guffawed. They would just
they did. They didn't even know how long it would last.
No, they were like, "What the fuck have you done to this near perfect system that we created?" All right,
because there should not be a thing as a career politician.
No, there should not be a thing as a career politician. Absolutely not. And I mean, and I've said this before, the only thing Congress can come together and agree on is how much they get paid.
Yeah.
And so like that's a problem.
Well, I've been saying for years, if anyone, again, I think the courts, the judicial branch is aside, but as far as the president and the legislator, if you're actively wanting to run for it right now, I don't trust you off the bat.
No.
Like, I don't think, you know what I mean? Like, because you're just being ambitious with a few exceptions.
Yeah, everybody is. Everybody wants to be top dog.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know.
So I
don't know that there's relevancy in going back. Because we're not going that way, and then it's a system that keeps perpetuating. You're not going to get money out of it.
Yeah.
And I think the founding fathers, they would be astounded that it's lasted this long, that it endured a civil war, and that we're like a superpower. What the hell does that mean? You mean we're stronger than England? It's like, yes.
Yeah, that's true.
And people can do whatever the hell they want. That's incredible. You know, there's that. But then, you know, how we wrote things, I don't think our spirit lives on.
Yeah. I think they would look at it and be like, wait, they make how much?
Well, there's that.
For doing what?
I want to say to go back to it though. Like, I don't necessarily mean go back like to all the way there, but like kind of like you said, Eddie, the judges don't have to worry about re-election. So what's that mean? That makes them honest. They're not beholden to anyone. But now you see it across the aisle that people are more worried about getting reelected than doing the right thing.
Exactly.
And so if you're not getting paid that much money and you have a job, now it's decentivized to get reelected. You're just going to do what you got to do. You know you have a job back home. You have a backup. You're not dependent on this. 'Cause I honestly think a lot of politicians in the House and the Senate, if they didn't get reelected, they ain't got shit.
They would literally be like, "What the fuck do I do now?"
They would maybe go to Fox or CNN for little bits here and there.
They'll be pundits.
Well,
exactly.
Most of them would go back to practicing law. They're attorneys anyway, so it's not like
maybe yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe the judges, but we're talking about like the House and the Senate, like those people.
Senate, those are attorneys too.
No, a lot of them are lawyers. A lot of them, but
yeah, the House, it's a mishmash.
But I do think though, even you're right. They're all lawyers, so they might go back to practice. But like you take some of the ones who are a little more extreme or a little more controversial, and I think the more controversial ones do that on purpose.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a job. Like, what law firm's going to hire you if you're a hyper-partisan lawyer? It's going to make them look bad. And so you were right that a majority of them, even if it's their own private practice, will go back to it. But still, I think a lot of these people they depend. It's more about depending on the job than actually wanting to serve.
Yeah.
And they keep getting voted in.
Yeah, which is a
Because
whole other thing. Yeah.
Somebody has to pay for them to get reelected. So if it speaks for demographic, and if you're Amazon, it's the going thing. If you're Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, which political campaign do you contribute off the top of your head? Do you think that they support Democrats, or do you think they support
Republicans?
Amazon?
Really, you think that? I'm talking all three of them. Amazon.
You're going Republican
Exxon,
because it's a whole laissez-faire thing.
Glennie, what do you think?
Amazon specifically, I would say would go more right-wing Republican.
The truth? They support both.
Oh, that was gonna be my next thing.
Trick question. I see what you did there.
That was gonna be my next thing. Was more.
It doesn't matter who's in the.
Whoever's gonna make me more money.
It's what was the term?
Either of them, if you pay them enough, they're gonna. They're not gonna foot a tax bill, and that's way. Okay, we'll give you $400 million. If we're gonna have a couple billion in taxes. So
that was the phrase in, I think it was Analyze That, the second one, where the guy said, "There's no this side or that side. There's one side to me, mine." Talking about the crime families. You're right. You
have gold injected in politics, and that's the way it's been.
And that's what I mean, though. Like, people talk about getting rid of lobbyists, and if you really think about it, at the end of the day, why wouldn't you want to get rid of lobbyists? I feel like the common people, Democrats and Republicans alike, are all like, yeah, lobbyists are bad. Get rid of lobbyists. And the politicians are like, yeah, we'll do that.
The ones that put money in your pocket.
You've got the businesses. Businesses need representation as well. And having encountered a lobbyist, it's really fascinating work. Just here's what we're doing for you, and then somebody, Barack Obama has a question. Karen Ignati gets up, says, and then Barack Obama says, yeah, that's America's health plans right there. It's like, that's the industry.
No, I get it. It's tiring.
It's exhausting.
But that's what I think at the end of the day.
It is.
I do think, because even right now, the actual process of politics aside, it really is hyper-partisan. And so what steps do we take to get back to it? And I do think taking the money out of it, the money incentive out of specifically the House and the Senate, now you're going to get people who actually want to serve. So they're going to work to get things done. Not to mention, if they only have a week to do it out of the month, they're going to fucking get it done and go home. And they don't have to depend on the job.
I mean, all this.
That's ideal.
It's ideal, I understand. But
all this to say, Simone Biles made the right choice withdrawing from the all-around to focus on her mental health.
Yes.
It's honestly the one person I'd like to ask about that is Kurt Angle, who won the gold in wrestling,
and then he joined the WWE
with a broken ankle.
Yeah.
So and he did that with a broken ankle.
Yeah.
Well,
so should you go forward? I mean, what?
So here's
there's somebody who did go forward.
So so back to the regular topic. Cut out the last 30 minutes. No, I respect that, and I think that's badass of him. And when I see that happen, fuck yeah, it's his choice.
Exactly.
But again, it's his choice.
If I remember a while back, someone said he had some serious problems, if something is stressful to me and bothers me, I have every right to take my choice and take myself out of the equation. If those things don't bother you, cool, fight through it. Yeah. But it's personal choice.
I think he'd say the same thing. I think it's a personal decision. It's your ass out there. And if it's worth the gamble, cool. But, in the end, it doesn't matter what anybody else says.
Yeah, it's yours.
You got you there. You had some backup, but if you're not feeling it for whatever reason, it's you out there. Yeah. And if you want it bad enough, you can go with a broken ankle.
Or if you don't think it's worth it, back out.
Yeah, you tap out.
It's up to you. We have alternates for this reason.
Yes, exactly.
So,
anyway, going way back to it, I'll button my last thought on the politics aside on the Simone Biles issue is, at first, I'm repeating myself, but at first it was kind of like what the fuck? Once I understood the context of it, and I'll say it 1,000 times, I've said it 1,000 times before, I'll say it 1,000 times again, context is so important to understand a full situation. Once I understood the situation, I said, okay, she's doing what's good for her. My problem with the whole thing, and I already said it, is I can't empathize with the outrage of it.
Yeah.
That's my final opinion.
Yeah. There's no need for the outrage. This is an athlete whose viewpoint is significantly different from yours. She's dealing with stuff that is significantly different from your life. She has a different perspective on everything that you have a perspective on. So you don't get to have that outrage.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do it, but you're going to be taken at the point of an asshole.
Yeah.
Because you can't do what she can do. And if she needs to take a mental health day, remove herself from a competition, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
It's your decision. I mean, if you're feeling it, go for it. You worked for it, and if you ain't feeling it, no matter how high you are in the competition, if you don't feel it, it's your choice. But I do kind of want to empathize with the people who's outraged, because my new hobby is laying down conspiracy theories to those who can. That's awesome. I love doing that. But more often than not, I don't have time. So
well, there's that. Yeah.
Like she's gonna move on with her life and just be equally as successful at something.
Eddie Wantland contributing to the fucked up zeitgeist that is America.
But he's right though. What's funny is that 4 years from now she's gonna be back at the Olympics, killing it.
Yeah.
And these people are gonna be either rooting for her or
well, these people are gonna be like, I remember 4 years ago. Go Simone. Like, fuck you, asshole. Yeah.
Anyway, I think that covers it. I think we
we nailed it. We kind of went off on a tangent there, but as with the fake philosophers, tangents abound.
Change the name of the show to the tangent.
The tangent.
The tangent.
The real fake philosophers, real tangents.
Yeah, I like that.
That's the byline. Yeah,
that's the byline. I like that.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Take
Eddie,
us out, Danny.
Thanks for joining us. I miss you. I love you.
I miss you too.
All right. I look forward to seeing you soon. For Michael Glenny, for Eddie Wantland, I'm Daniel Anthony saying thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.